Okay, 4 seconds in. Welcome to Great Things Are Simple. We got Mike and Darren here. I was just going through my new setup. I'm gonna see if I can edit stuff to make it a little more interesting. So just for perspective, I got a camera
Whose perspective?
there.
Our perspective or your perspective?
Yeah, just from the camera's perspective. So that's gonna be getting me from roughly there, and it's also going to get this fabulous monitor. So
while you're explaining your setup there, I'm going to be highly professional and grab my power cord. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So then I have my favorite image as desktop there. The worst part of censorship is everything is fine. Trust your government. I think that's where we're headed these days, you know. But as I come up with things throughout, there we go. I had a cord stuck. But as I have things come up when I'm typing, normally it's just me doing this. But I would have cut to this shot and it would be like, oh, check it out. And I was actually going to see if I could. What do I want? Can I get like a slideshow? Let's do pictures. Gallery. Photos.
Almost ready, brother.
Dude, no worries. I am probably gonna speed some of this shit up. It'll be me getting this other monitor set up. It's gonna be dope, dude. It's gonna make it the show that I've always wanted it to be. I just have to open the right software and make sure I'm doing the right stuff to record everything.
How come all I see is you?
That's all you will see. Except there might be a time or two when I'm sharing my screen. And that would be, that would probably be this screen here that I share. You know? Yeah. So it'll, trust me, dude.
Oh, no, there it is. No, before, like, I saw you, and then, like, you were also where I normally am for some reason. And it wasn't until I clicked out of it that it just...
Oh, okay.
All I saw was you and, like, all these different...
Okay.
I mean, not that I don't mind looking at you, but, you know.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the GoFundMe you're starting with all our subscribers for my birthday present?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What did you again? Trip to
I don't know, man. I want to like parachute into some hot zone and like get in some shit.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means.
So hey, is it just me or were you not feeling it last week?
I was probably pretty tired. It's just been a rough couple weeks. I've been kind of exhausted at the end of the week.
Yeah, I think I got that sense from you.
I didn't get a chance to watch any of that one. Was I being all negative or what?
Well, I actually haven't posted it yet.
Oh, okay.
And I meant to today, and I don't know why I didn't. I think I was preoccupied with this setup this week because I think I mentioned a week or two ago that Steph had mentioned that the background didn't look too good with the garage door, that it seemed kind of depressing. So I went ahead and cleaned up my workbench, got my flag off of the pole that I don't normally hang it on from my house, and put that up back there. So slightly better, you know. So if someone's casually perusing the YouTubes or something, it'll give them a little idea of possibly where we stand.
America. Yeah, so what was up last week? Like, was I talking treason or?
Oh, no. There was just one point I was talking about something and I thought I was getting off on a tangent and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even remember what Mike what he asked me in the first place." So I didn't know if I was just sounding like a nut job, and I was expecting you to come back and say either that's crazy, you're way off base, and this is why, or for you to kind of say, yeah, that's a good point, and then I'd think I really wonder what he asked me. Yeah. But I got to a certain point, and I was waiting for you, and your reply was just, I don't know, man.
I don't know. Well, sometimes, dude, honestly, when it gets like, it's not. I'm not being dismissive when I do that. Honestly, it's just kind of like overload, and it gets to the point where it's like, I mean, because a lot of these things we can run at them from both sides all day long and see, validity to either side of an argument. So it's really hard when we start sparring and we get to a point and it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Because, if the shit was easy, it'd be taken care of and we wouldn't be talking about it.
No, I know, but I thought that at least the week previous that we had gotten.
Honestly, dude, probably last week, I think I was just so exhausted that I was trying to follow you, but kind of like you said, how you were kind of losing track,
Okay, yeah.
I was probably just beat, and it gets hard, like, when I was that tired. I don't normally get that tired, but it just gets really hard for my, like, critical thinking part of my brain to keep working,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I apologize, yeah.
No, it's fine, I completely understand, and I think at the end of that, it was pretty much like, point taken, dude.
Well, like, honestly,
in previous weeks, I don't know if it appeared anywhere. You just messaged me like, "Hey, dude, I'm kind of tired. Let's call it quits." And I'm like, "Cool." But
that's what I'm saying.
It's like a truck, and I was like, "Wow, dude." It's the end of the show, and we haven't even had our 6-month whatever,
6-month whatever?
Yeah.
I lost track of what you're talking about.
Oh no, I was just saying like your lack of energy.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of felt like, oh, is this the end? And I knew it wasn't.
Right.
But in the moment, it was like.
Well, honestly, dude, like, if we're like continually working on what we do, like, it helps just like a pointer if we kind of break it up every so often. Because, like, honestly, those are like, and this is not obviously I want to talk to you. That's why we do this. But, like, there's a lot of things that you bring up that I'm aware of and I agree with, but, it just gets real frustrating, So that's kind of like where I am politically. It's just like I'm aware of the stuff going on, but at the same time, I don't have the, whatever to process it like that, So, yeah, I mean, it just helps. I guess what I'm saying is it's easier for me to engage in those kind of discussions if we kind of break it up and, with a section where we're just talking about something, whatever, a movie or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because honestly, it's just kind of like I said, it's like almost like sparring, and after doing that for like over an hour, you get kind of tired, dude. Not like
I know.
Like physically tired, like, oh fuck, man, I can't do this much longer, So I mean, it's probably like a muscle too. We'll probably get better at it, and it won't be so taxing. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we were just at slightly different places last week, where I thought we were talking about something a little more productive, like outsourcing the police. But then you steered it more towards like the philosophical aspects of it. And I think I might be wrong, but it was one of those things where I think we were kind of doing this, and the fact that we were tired wasn't helping at all either.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't remember. That's why I think I was just exhausted. I just remember thinking like,
Dude, you were so wasted.
well, you know me, dude. I mean, like, I'll try and come up with a logical argument or, something to add to a conversation. So if I'm like, at that point, dude, I apologize because I probably just unknowingly checked out. You know what I was like?
Yeah.
On cruise control. So, yeah. So, yeah, if I ever get like that, dude, just shoot me a line and be like, hey, man.
Okay, so I think next week I will have a slideshow going on my new monitor. So
the puppetry of the penis thing you did?
yeah, dude, it is amazing. I mean, the puppetry is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was bringing up my tabs here to see what I had to go over to see if I have anything in particular.
Something I was going to show you that Molly posted earlier. Hold on, let me find it. Well, it was just, he can break things down into a way that...
Yeah. There's been a tweet or two of his that I saw, and I just thought, like, wow, that, like, it sums up what people try and say so much into just a small tidbit there.
Well, and I think, like, a lot of our problem is we fancy ourselves philosophers, but we're just, like, a bunch of imbeciles. So it's really hard. Like, we know what we want to say, but we don't always know how to say it, And for someone to be able to put it into simple terms.
Yeah.
Drop something here. I don't know what. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Oh, yeah, it was just this, there was a better one. This one looks like a truncated version. Okay, here it is. Here's the full version. I'm sorry. So basically, his post was a compromise to leftists. I'm willing to have immigration laws as strongly or weakly enforced as tax laws. No enforcement of immigration laws equals no collection of taxes. You can open the borders if you close tax collection agencies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that, why is that not logical?
So this goes to the people that we have in power, like, I think if you and I could sit down with Trump, we could reasonably argue, hey, look, I don't care who comes here as long as I'm not forced to pay for them, right? I mean, that seems like a logical argument.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want open borders, cool. Open the borders, but close down all social welfare so I don't have to pay for these people,
Yeah. Well, but that's the problem is there's a portion of the population that understands that that goodwill is all fine and dandy, but you got to pay for goodwill somehow. And we can't help anybody if we're not taking care of ourselves first. And I know people react to that in a bad way, but it's true. I mean, if we can't take care of the people in our own nation and, provide jobs, careers, and...
But it's also one of those things, like, if the argument that I hear constantly is that they are so, like, special or valuable to the economy. And if that's true, then come on in and work and prove your worth, right?
Yeah, but how does it improve the economy when it puts a strain on everything else? I mean,
no, but that's just it. Like that's the claim from the left.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then we shouldn't need to pay anyone just invite the immigrants over and no one needs social welfare because for some reason they're so good to the or for the economy. I mean, it seems kind of like retard logic. Is I mean, is that wrong to say?
I like this one. His post a little earlier. Sorry, it says it's boring to rebut, but I have never claimed to be a white nationalist. It says I have always championed the non-aggression principle, which forbids the initiation of the use of force against others. The creation, dude, he fucking stole your thing, man. That's basically don't start a fight.
Yeah, where do you think I got it from?
No, I think he stole it from you, fool. Right?
Yeah. Oh my God, I know who the 4th subscriber is now.
Who? Oh, Stefan.
Yeah.
It's like these guys are brilliant.
He must have seen a tweet that someone shared.
Dude, you know what would be awesome if he got us on a phone call for his podcast.
Yeah.
Talk to us for like 8 hours.
But he typically only interviews experts.
Well, I'm talking about like the people he talks to that are like dysfunctional in some way.
Yeah, that was going to be the other one, and I'm not sure that's the road that I feel like going down.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for comedic factor. That would be fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh, do one that's like over the top?
Yeah, well, not only that, but even if it was more or less serious, it'd be freaking hilarious, dude. Because, you know, usually he talks to like one person, or sometimes he talks to a couple, but yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be like me and you talking about our podcast. And I think it would be funny. Of course, what? I have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you strike me as the kind of the guy that would drive a hybrid.
Oh, no. Hybrids don't make sense in my book.
Yeah. Are you ever going to get a battery car?
No.
Dude, you know what I saw, though? A while back, there was a bunch of, I don't know if it was whatever that off-roading trade show is last year. They had a concept battery-powered 4x4. And it was kind of cool because it was more or less kind of looked like a Jeep configuration. Not quite the same lines, but because the batteries are all real low, all the weight is low, you know, in the frame or the chassis. And plus, the incredible amount of torque you get out of electric motors. So, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have a solid way to charge them real quickly. I mean, I know that it's like an hour or two and it's like 85% charged or something like that.
Right. I think most people, if they get to the point where that becomes not an issue, will all be driving them. Because really, it makes sense. I mean, they're just better all around. If you take care of the charging thing.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, where does the power come from in the first place?
Well, why can't they be solar and, you know...
So, solar, like, it's good-ish, but I don't know.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I didn't mean like solely solar. I meant like, could you integrate... I mean, we have all these computers and shit that can integrate different systems. So couldn't you incorporate like, you know, there's all kinds of different shit now. There's like solar. You could have some kind of... I know it'd be like a hybrid, but some kind of fuel generator of some sort. I don't know. But I mean, you could see that potentially at some point they will tackle that, right? I'm just saying, if we get to that point, hell yeah, I'd be on board to buy an electric car.
So...
You know, okay, let's just say it's like Star Trek and there's a little reactor in there and power's not an issue, you know?
Yeah, so let's say, what is it, thorium, right? There's some kind of nuclear power done with an element called thorium, and it cannot be used as, like, nuclear bomb material.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know much about it beyond that. So I don't know if it could be like dirty bomb material, just throwing toxic stuff everywhere. But it's something that I think after at least a couple 100 years, it's perfectly harmless. I know that's a long time, but like an actual shelf life versus tens of thousands of years, right?
Yeah. Have you seen the Chernobyl on HBO?
No, I don't have HBO, but I think that might explain why I've been seeing what is it? The first image of Chernobyl. Wasn't it like 33 years ago?
Yeah, something. I forget what year. 80 something.
I think it was
Yeah.
86.
It's a trip though, dude. Like, um, just I mean, the folly of errors. You know what I mean? And that I forget the guy that. Oh, I just happened to see this video, and I wish I could remember his name. It was a professor or some sort of nuclear physicist guy, and they were talking about Chernobyl, and he was like talking about all the inherent flaws in it, and like how these things would never even be allowed to be built, in most Western countries. And it's from the top down. And then like when it happened, there was just denial the whole way up the chain. Until one guy kind of called bullshit on it all, and they had to admit that they'd blown, actually not melted down the reactor, but blown it apart. And
Yeah.
that's just crazy. Do you remember? I don't know. Did we ever talk about that? Did I ask you, like, if you ever remember like being afraid of like nuclear war when we were little? Because I have really distinct memories, like not being aware of it, like when I was really little, but probably in the like early to mid '80s, like being more aware of it, and then like seeing there were certain movies. There's a few movies I can name off the top of my head that just scared the shit out of me because they were kind of like a what if nuclear scenario. And I guess I just like as a kid, you just realize the stakes. You know what I mean? Because you realize like, dude, this is like a world changing forever. Shit will never be the same if it. I mean, on that scale anyway.
Yeah. Well, I tend to enjoy the post-apocalyptic movies these days.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing quite as disturbing as The Road with Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah,
But
that one was. Yeah.
there's one. It's I think it's just called This Is the End with Adrian Grenier. Is that how you say his name from the HBO one where it was the famous actor guy?
I don't know, man.
Adrian Grenier. Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know. I don't have his poster on my wall.
What? You took it
down? No, I was talking like when I was a kid. Did you remember a movie called Miracle Mile?
Miracle Mile.
It was.
I don't know.
It's the guy. Remember Anthony Edwards, the guy that played Goose in Top Gun?
Oh yeah, he was Doctor whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, he's
Doctor Fancy Pants.
Yeah, the movie's about he's like
brain cancer, right? Isn't that how he died?
I don't know, something.
It was so sad.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
Were you looking at yourself?
No, I'm looking at my other monitor.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of that movie, but please keep going. So,
but anyway, so the story of the movie is it just kind of picks up like he's supposed to meet this girl on a date, and he's at this restaurant in I think it was the Miracle Mile down in, is that Hollywood or?
Yeah, I think so.
North, one of those. Anyway, so he's kind of waiting around for this girl to show up, and the phone rings, back when they had payphones, and he picks up the phone, and it's this guy in like a panicked voice, and he's like talking like he knows who he's talking to, and he's all upset, and he's talking about we just shot our load and blah blah blah, and he says a bunch of stuff, and he's kind of like, and then he says, who is this? And then he's like, he hangs up, right? So then he goes back in, and he starts kind of talking to the people around him, and he tells them what the guy said. And the chick that played Tasha Yar, remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's in it, and she plays this blind chick. I forget what. But anyway, she's like involved with the Department of Defense and stuff, and she like recognizes what the guy says, and she goes, wait a minute, what did he say? So then basically they realize that there's been an exchange, so now they're just waiting for. So they're trying to get out of LA basically, but just shit, scenarios like that as a kid, because you realize like, really, where are you gonna go? Like, I mean, I guess if you're lucky, you live in a very rural area that wouldn't be affected at all. But even then, the rest of the world is, and it's not going to take long before, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
and
just bad shit, man.
and I don't think it's just me because there's a lot of people that I listen to. I mean, granted, they're similar minded,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a pretty prevalent topic, about like
It's
who knows
just,
what the world is going to look like in 10 years if we keep going down this path.
well, it just blows my mind that the fact that we're able to potentially unleash that much destruction, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not just a one-time deal. I mean, it's basically, a planet-killing scenario.
Yeah. Well, it's like how we started going down here. You asked me if I remember um issues, I guess you'd say, or like
Well, so I just meant like being
of
scared or aware of the possibility of.
so I remember the duck and cover drills
Hmm.
in elementary school,
Hmm.
but I know later on those were
Those are
earthquakes.
earthquakes,
So
but
I don't know if they were doing double duty where it was just like, oh, we're just doing drills.
maybe I didn't mean like in terms of like what people who were kids in the late 50s and 60s went through as far as like the Red Scare and like paranoia. I just meant like there was kind of that underlying fear, like because I think people nowadays forget that back then. I mean, maybe by the mid 80s, it just started, probably around the time that Chernobyl happened, in fact. But, like, it was the Iron Curtain, dude. Like, people knew very little about what really went on, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
we take it for granted now because we've got the History Channel and YouTube, and, we can watch all this history stuff in retrospect. But at the time, it's like, kind of like with North Korea now, it's just a very unpredictable variable. So.
yeah, yeah. But
What if there really was no nuclear weapons? What if all that was a
well, that's one of the things about the Soviets,
mm-hmm.
where they had those huge parades,
Mm-hmm.
but there was apparently nothing in there,
Hmm.
or like just empty rockets.
Well, some of that, but I meant what if nuclear? I don't know. You could
Like
say
actual nuclear bombs didn't exist. It was just
right,
a shit show.
right. Like it was all a propaganda thing, and like they never really. I'm just saying this is a really, really bad scenario, but like
Yeah,
like Nagasaki and Hiroshima were
yeah.
staged. You know,
Um. So can you
because
see my
think.
screen now?
Hold on. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the movie that I was talking about,
Uh huh.
and just kind of going back to what I would like how I thought of as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this will point you to my current naivete, where in this, it's nothing like nuclear winter or nuclear bomb or anything, but some guy that he knows. And I don't want to spoil too much because this is available on Netflix, and I highly recommend it if you like post-apocalyptic stuff. It's just cool, but basically everything just turns off. So it's not
Right.
like an EMP where you're back in the Stone Age. You still have a laptop. You could set up a network. You could have radio and all of that, but like the grid as we know it just shuts down.
What do you mean the grid?
Like there's no power. Like all networked computers just kind of get overloaded, and everything gets like burnt out and turned off. It's like an ultimate backdoor super bug or some shit.
But then other independent computers can still function?
Yeah, like
Oh,
like
okay.
like
So it's
you're
like a semi-reset, kind of.
yeah. So
Well, but
so
that scenario isn't that big a deal, because, I mean, people would still have the knowledge and the equipment, or the knowledge to implement the equipment to make a network.
yeah, but with current food distribution,
Oh, yeah, I mean, it would suck
that stuff.
balls for quite a while.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those things like, is the rest of the world going to mobilize to help the
Oh, you're
U.S.?
talking about just our country?
Yeah,
Oh.
but even
So
if it
you're
is,
talking about like an EMP?
Well, kind of, but
We still have cars.
um. So in this instance, in this movie, yeah, they still have cars.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of those things like
It just seems that the networks being down wouldn't be that big a setback in the grand scheme of things.
but think if like your local power company runs on a certain operating system that 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 this thing is vulnerable to or whatever. Like it's one of those plot things. Like we need to put people into this situation. So
Right.
this is the device.
Like Bird Box.
Yeah, I didn't even finish watching that, but
True.
but so this movie, like it's cool, but it's one of those things. If you think ahead, you can kind of be prepared for this. You know, oh, I have a large garden, we can stuff. You know, and you can get through something like this. But
did it make you feel all warm and fuzzy?
Well, no, not really, because I'm not prepared to weather something like that. Like if the shit hits the fan,
so
like
you gotta be somebody's bitch, is what you're saying.
I'm gonna be panicking. I'm gonna. I mean, I'm gonna.
Well, what do you panic for? You got a 30-round magazine, don't you?
Peace.
A man with 30 rounds fears no one.
But it's one of those things like. If it happens, I hope it happens on the Friday that Stephanie comes back with groceries versus it's Thursday and tomorrow she's going to the market, you know? Because then it's like, oh, I can work some shit out. You know, we're going to have a shit ton of meat in the next few days and maybe we'll see about getting ice or something. And then, like, I would know, okay, we need to stretch this out for like a month. You know?
Yeah. Give me a second here. I'm trying to do something technical.
That's cool. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen again.
Okay.
But yeah, I do highly recommend that movie. If you like that type of thing, it's got a 5.5 on IMDb. I assume that's out of 10.
I was never super into the post-apocalyptic thing, but it was more just the idea of it scared me as a kid, you know? The thought that, dude, if that happened, like, the world would just stop, you know?
Oh,
and it's kind of like defeating as a kid. You're like, fuck, man. You know?
Yeah, so, getting back to my comment about my naivety and, like, my current state, even saying that, like, I could not weather something like that long term, where if it happened on a certain time, I might be able to extend my supplies and kind of figure things out.
Yeah.
But if it happened at the other time, like I'm kind of panicking and it's a number of days versus a number of weeks.
Here's the thing, dude.
In my mind, I'm naive enough, like if everything goes nuclear or everything shuts down, I'm naive enough. We're like, oh no, I'm the person that they show at the end of the movie, like 20 years down the road, starting the new civilization. Yeah, like a super long beard.
No, you're the dude that they kill first.
No. They would definitely want me around. You know, like I'm good with a 30-round magazine. Hopefully, I'm good with a 16-round magazine if California ever gets some sense knocked back into it.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah. Let me see.
I sent you a picture on your cell phone when you get a chance.
Oh, okay.
It's just a picture of our preparedness. But what I was going to say, I'm sorry, before you rudely cut me off like you always do.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I just really wanted to make my point.
I know, right? But really, I mean, like, as far as I see it, prepping is really just common sense disaster preparedness. Like, honestly, if it ever comes to, like, one of those scenarios, it's just a matter of time. It's how long you hold out, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, unless situation is ideal and nobody's fucking with each other and everybody's like, hey, let's just handle this shit. You can make it, you know? if you can get a community together. But
Yeah, so if you were in Louisiana during hurricane whatever, would you have gone to the Superdome or would you have stayed at your own home, assuming that it wasn't completely underwater?
oh, I would have been in my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, why the fuck would you go to the Superdome?
I don't know. I mean that just sounds scary as shit.
Okay, but those are the kind of people. Like, I got this a lot from people in our area, the area we grew up in, Southern California, that kind of liberal, left-leaning crowd that, I don't need to protect myself. I don't need to plan for anything adverse because the government will take care of us. And it's like, were any of you people seeing what was going on during Katrina? Because, unless you were like, I don't know, famous or there was something really critical about, making you a priority to save, you're kind of on your own for a while.
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't that where the army went out and broke into homes and confiscated firearms?
Oh yeah, well there's a bunch of shit show stuff that went down with that, but I was just talking about the mentality of not being prepared for anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, I have a few gallons of water stored away in a cabinet, but it's one of those things. If the shit hits the fan, hopefully I can wake up, stop up a couple of bathtubs, and just fill the
You
bathtub.
can drink the water out of the tank of the toilet.
Yeah, I'm not too proud. Which I also need to get something like a Big Berkey or an Alexa Pure, like really good quality filter. Because then if I ever have lead in my water, it gets filtered out and I don't become.
I would get two just to have for any scenario. Get a few of the life straws, just because they're really flexible.
I heard those suck.
Really? You suck. You suck balls. So tell me something interesting, dude. You used to talk about interesting shit before you started talking about politics.
Yeah. Oh, so check. Well, this is kind of associated with politics because,
Isn't the politics of love?
Hold on.
MEGHOT.
So, this week.
Not last week.
Right. This week, I went and I got a new phone.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Huawei.
Oh yeah, it's the Huawei-est.
Huawei.
So, did they ever sell phones in the U.S.? I don't think so, right?
If they did, it was a very, very small number. Because I know, are you there? Oh, I couldn't tell if you froze up. Yeah. No, yeah. Joe Rogan had been following them because, he'd been reading about basically what it was technologically, I guess, and then kind of like wondering if they were going to make a big scene in the market. But I think right as they were about to, all this shit started coming down. But from what I hear, they're pretty integrated, like overseas, with a lot of other countries' infrastructures and who knows? That shit could be everywhere, dude. I mean, think of how much shit is made in China, and could potentially have, whatever it is. What do they call
it? Corporate espionage.
No, I forget what it's called. Oh, like data mining capability. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like I don't get why U.S. companies get shit produced in someplace like China for security reasons alone.
Well, yeah, I don't understand that too, because there is a lot of stuff that you find out is sourced from China, and you're kind of like, that doesn't seem right. Just because, I mean, you would think if they're kind of our main competition, let's say, you really wouldn't want to allow them to integrate into your infrastructure in any way. But what do I know? You know.
I know that makes sense, right?
I mean,
Jesus
as far as
Christ.
I'm concerned, we should have never let the damn dirty Japs build our computers. You know. I mean, I say that. Remember when everything was made in Japan, and then what happened? When did it all start being made in China?
When they started to export their like environmental debt or whatever, you know, like, oh, that's dirty, we're gonna manufacture that someplace.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The environment.
Yeah.
But fuck China.
Dude, I forgot what I picked my phone up to look for. I know you asked me to provide examples of interesting stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I got a new phone. I had a Samsung 5. So a few years old. But last year I got an iPhone SE because I wanted small.
Okay.
To compensate for something large. My ego. And then I went swimming with it one day.
Well,
and I had only had it for about a month, so I was pretty pissed at myself. So in the end, I went back to my S5 for like a year, and then it got to a point where Stephanie said, "Your phone's POS." Jimmy's phone was POS, so we went. He got whatever he got, and I got that. And it's funny because Jimmy would mention articles like, "Oh, you know, Apple slows down its older phones." But I would see articles about Samsung doing that too. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, I think they just put a spin
literally
on
the operating system that you prefer. You know,
right.
like how it does these things, because Google is available on both. You know. So unless you like the Mac way of doing things, well, you can still do it Google's way inside of apps, you know, so it's not a big deal. But
I've never had a problem with my iPhones.
Oh, okay. So you're an Apple guy when it comes to phones?
Yeah, just, I don't know. I mean, just at this point, I really haven't had a reason to. It knows what I needed to do, and I actually got a Samsung. I don't know. Maybe it was a 5 a while back. I don't know what series. Yeah, I had it for about, I think it was like a couple of days, and I was like, yeah, I don't like this. But I
was so sad when I had to go back to my S5. I was like, man, I liked it. It was the perfect size, because the SE is smaller than than this one, you know.
Yeah,
but
whatever this is, 6S. Or...
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, so I think
or 6S Plus. It's the 6S
okay.
Plus, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just ended up liking it better. But the computer I use for work is Mac, and it was this job that I had the opportunity to use Mac for the first time for longer than 5 minutes. And I figured, you know what, like worst case scenario, it'll be awkward to do things until I can get a new computer.
Right.
But I think they're kind of awesome, you know? Like it works.
I haven't used a Mac in years, like since we were in school.
I love the touchpad. Like it's 3 fingers up to like shrink all of the windows in, so everything comes up so you can see it, and then you can go up and do your to see if there's additional desktops on the monitor that you're on. So like it's really cool and user friendly, and I prefer that touchpad so much that I just use the like the laptop keyboard instead of using a wireless keyboard. But you know, it works. I use what I use. So I'm just going through my tabs to make sure that there's nothing open that I wanted to share. One cool thing I'm excited about, Lauren Southern has her new documentary, Borderless. Let me see if I can save that for possibly homework for next week. I'll plan on watching it by then. And then maybe if you'd like, you can watch it as well. or you can be like, Darren, that was dumb.
What was that? I was reading something while you were telling me.
Oh no, I was saying
I just figured you were rambling. Sorry.
Yeah, like I'm stoked for Lauren Southern's new documentary, Borderless. I think
What's
it's
that
going to
about?
be. It's about the flow of undocumented
Oh,
migrants, whatever, from basically the third world into Europe.
is that you said that's on Netflix?
No, I think it's just on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'll check it
Yeah.
out.
Okay, so nothing there. Blah 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 blah. Let's actually quit that. Maybe it'll start running a little better. Who knows? We'll see. But what do we have here? I will get to. Okay. So um, I started out kind of with mixed emotions about tonight's show.
Mm-hmm.
As we started saying earlier, like the tone towards the end, and I don't mean to bring up or keep bringing up Bad Blood or
Yeah.
whatever because it's cool, but I was actually cool that thinking that I didn't have any material to come with,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't focusing so much on like this needs to be a show about freedom, and instead it's just like
Yeah. But see, that's kind of what I was trying to
fun.
convey to you in the beginning. Was like, I think once we get better at it, it'll just be more free flowing and kind of ebb back and forth. Kind of like I said, instead of saying, "Oh, let's talk about something else," it'll just kind of go its own natural direction. So.
Yeah, I think I wanted it too bad, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like not to sound too disturbed.
Well, if I can give a little criticism, you were trying a little too hard. That's what I was trying to do, just get you to relax, dude. And that's why I was, like we talked about how we miscommunicated, and I was just trying to draw more discussion and more thought out of you, but, you just thought I was, like, nitpicking, so. But, I kind of figured this, once we figure it out and, because this is the way we used to talk, And that's what I was talking about. It's like we just used to get on subjects and riff on it for, a long time. So, and then there was other times we just kind of be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I thought I had stuff here. Oh, so did you hear about the who is it? Hold on, let me see. It was some Roman Catholic guy who said that what did he say? He said resisting mass Muslim migration is a good thing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it kind of made me feel hopeful. Because
you can get the Vatican on board.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not a church-wide
no, but
idea,
I mean,
but like it's a voice of reason that's breaking through all of this social justice bullshit.
Well, and I think that's kind of the way it's going, though, is that there's kind of like a very, I don't know if it's a majority, but a very silent population that it's going to fracture along those lines, but there's just one side being real coy about it,
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things that the left is so like vocal and loud, and I don't know if they mistakenly make me think that they have control over everything. But when I see that someone like Kurt Russell is still working, and I know he's pro Second Amendment,
yeah.
That
Dude,
gets
I don't think it's any kind of grand like conspiracy other than the conspiracy to keep power amongst themselves. But I just think the left is very good about playing on heartstrings and trying to come off as morally superior, and that gets a lot of play. And they're very good about marketing it, and you know.
So look, this is what I think. I don't think there's a grand scheme like there's one single emperor dude, and he's like, "This is how we're gonna do it, my minions." You know, like Minions or whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Where I think that there's people, and they know each other, and they might be having a discussion in a dark, seedy space one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I and I say, "Hey, Mike."
Yes. I didn't know you were talking.
You know,
To be opposed to large-scale Muslim immigration.
Yeah. So that it's cool, and there we go. But there, like, there's at least audio, if not video too, and I mean he basically says that resist large scale Muslim immigration. It's one of those things. How many?
I think he could have been a little more eloquent.
I don't know. I don't think eloquence is.
I do, because I think if not, it just gets drowned out as mud throwing, you know? The way I see it is, if somebody reads it in the history books in 500, 1,000 years, which side is going to make sense logically, you know?
Oh, well,
and how do you? But I guess what I'm saying is, like, basically, if you cheapen yourself to the point that, you know, you just kind of engage in the mud throwing and, I don't know, it just turns into white noise, you know, kind of like I've said. If everybody's just going at each other like a bunch of cats, it just loses any sort of.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but it's like also I think it's one of those things that so rare is this voice that it like just hearing someone speak reason, it's like, oh, thank God, you know.
Yeah, but I'm gonna
but
be devil's advocate here, but that's in your perception. I mean, wouldn't you agree that there's a fair amount of people that would look at that comment and say, "Oh, that's just some, you know, right-wing conservative guy, traditional Catholic, you know, rhetoric, basically."
yeah, but someone who's gonna think that is gonna think that regardless. I'm looking at the middle of the road people that are looking at these crazy people that are saying like Trump Russia collusion, and then when it comes out, it's like, no, he didn't do any of that, and their response is, yeah, but still, you know. And if there's just a voice of reason that says, hey, look at history, large scale Muslim migration leads to a Muslim society, you know, and like to be proud in your own heritage, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's a lot that can be gleaned from this little quote.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And if you go and listen to it, but anyways, getting back to my theory of power, right? So, hey, Mike, I like power, right?
Yeah, no.
And I've been watching you and keeping an eye on you.
Pervert.
And I think you like power too. Am I right?
Not really. I just want to be left the fuck alone, man.
Okay, we're like please do a little better.
Okay. You want me to role play with you? Is that
yes?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
let's start from the top, please. I gotta get into character.
But it's gonna speed up. I like power. You like power.
Fuck yeah.
Am I okay? Cool. So we don't really need to hatch out a plan for everything. We just look to our resources, like, oh, Saul Alinsky's book about how to start a socialist paradise, and like Cloward and Piven, where it's like we're gonna break the United States of America by by basically overwhelming a social welfare system, you know? And you know these facts, and I know these facts, so let's just go carry it out. And it'll be kind of a race to the top.
And that's what I'm saying when I talk about like collusion of power. Just like not an overt. I'm gonna do this, you're gonna do that, but yeah, whatever. I might lose this election, but in the end, we're all fucking winning, you know, because I'll be back in 4 years, and you know.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the like the current crop of evil people, who I just like to label as authoritarians.
But would you label them as evil?
Oh, like yes. They're like there's at least one bald cat and one cat that's fluffy as fuck between them, you know. I don't know who has what cat, but
is there a honky cat?
Honky cat. Well, yeah, it's cat. like crazy honky cat.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but you don't really need to collude. It's just people find themselves in these positions of power, and they say, hey, I need this favor done. And when they say, well, I don't know about that, then it comes back and it's like, well, you know, there's this thing called the Clinton body count, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I don't want to die working out.
You know what I like? I like the way you say collude.
Clinton.
No, collude.
Oh, collude.
Yeah, you say it funny there. Say it again.
You know, but people just get in these positions and they like to collude,
right,
with one another, and it's
self-perpetuating mechanism.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think it's these slightly incompetent yet super evil people that they're barely outsmarting anyone. And it's just kind of public opinion with their constant, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy type mindset, or type reply where people believing that the politicians are to be believed are like, oh yeah, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy, you know?
Well, I mean, that's all part of the problem, though. It's just that both sides play. You know, it's like there's a game afoot, and both sides have been playing it for years and years and years, and it's like once in a while you'll see little parts of either side kind of step out of that mold, but when they do, it's either so unsuccessful or just, you know, chastised as being whatever too extreme or whatever that nothing ever gains any traction, you know. So like I said, it ends up being a self-perpetuating mechanism. It's just, you know, it's like the path of least resistance, and, you know, here's a set of laws, and whatever happens within the confines of that.
Laws, man. Laws. Oh, man.
I reject your laws.
You know, I more than anything, I just want more and more people to have the mindset of, I'm a good person. I don't need some asshole like X number of miles away from me telling me what I can and cannot do.
I'm a terrible person, and I still don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Exactly. You know, so terrible people and good people can have this in common. And
you know, we'll kick your ass in the end, though, right?
Wait, who? Like us?
The terrible people.
Us?
We're gonna rally, dude. You guys are gonna be like, oh, you know, at some point after we have to kill the zombies, you guys are gonna be like, oh, well, we've killed all the zombies now. We don't need guns anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I might be a level-headed person, but that is the reason that I will always advocate for firearms.
I think you just like shoot.
What? Shitpost?
No, I said you just like shooting stuff.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's my problem. I don't give a fuck about national defense or...
I really want to get some steel and make like the body-sized cutouts that I can take with me.
You gotta get the correct steel though, dude.
Yeah, I know, and I don't know.
I'll find it for you. I'll find exactly what kind for you, because if not, it can fracture, it can splinter, it can do all kinds of weird shit. So It has to be a certain alloy and a certain heat temper.
Do you know if it's just like a thickness difference between a rifle round versus a pistol round?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a again. I'll have to look it up. Do a little. I mean, I can find it. I know I can find it. It might just take me 10 minutes, but yeah, there's. They suggest a certain.
Expert.
Yeah, certain thickness for pistol caliber rounds, and then certain thickness for high caliber rounds.
Is this where I put shit? Sorry, I'm still looking.
You don't know where to put your shit?
Well, in the toilet.
Oh.
I know. So eventually, I'm going to be doing all of this in OBS. And I think I'll have it where it'll actually be super dope. And the final product will be like, hey, it's not just two dudes looking into a microphone. It'll be like one of those dudes browsing his computer.
Okay.
But no, I thought I had more shit that I wanted to mention. Oh, hey, so what's your opinion of Reagan?
Excuse me. I don't really know. Like, my perception of him as a kid was kind of... I don't know. I mean, I remember, you see all the news bites and documentaries, all the famous speeches he made, and I remember all those. I don't know. I mean, I guess my perception would be that at the time, people were pretty satisfied with him.
Yeah, it's one
of course, politics was different back then. People didn't get so, I mean, as long as the economy was good and, things were relatively okay, people really didn't give it much thought.
Yeah, well, I think, I guess show number 1, when we were talking about our backgrounds,
I
think it was said a couple of times in there where when government is like 20% that it is today, I mean, that's considerably smaller if you compare it to what we have today, you know? So you didn't have to think about it as much. It wasn't encroaching on everything.
Right.
So you could go about most of your time and not really think about it.
Oh, I saw just some guy, I forgot, we were talking online in like a gun forum or something. Anyway, we kind of talked over the years, but he's in Texas, and he had posted a thing, and I didn't read the whole article, but just the title was basically that getting rid of the Electoral College would turn rural America into a serfdom. Which is kind of true, right?
Yeah. So I don't remember if you and I spoke about this or if it was a conversation I had with one of my friends. Yes, I do have.
No, I recall we were talking about the Electoral College at one point.
Yeah, so
I think I was just asking a legitimate question, like why do we need the Electoral College, and isn't there a way to balance it out that's more airtight than the concept of the Electoral College? You know what I mean? I mean, couldn't you handicap in a way that would take the human element out of the Electoral College? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, that was my only argument, was that in the Electoral College, there's still that human element of trusting this person to vote in your stead.
Yeah, so I think that there's been 2 instances where the Electoral College selected different than what they should have selected, I think. But I don't remember the instances. Maybe by the time I get this edited and whatnot, I can...
No, I know there's been a couple, but that's my point. Is there any way to engineer that out of the system itself? Or, like I said, some other way in the same vein of handicapping it to balance it out?
Yeah, so I think the argument is you have the Electoral College where everyone has at least 2 votes from the Senate, and that kind of weights the lower populated states to where they're not completely drowned out by the superpopulated states.
Right. Well, I think
Texas, Florida, New York, and California.
But just within the state. I mean, it's already kind of like that anyway, because like, look at how much just LA and San Francisco dictate California laws. Look at how much Portland dictates Oregon laws. Because I can tell you right now that 95% of Oregon is not Portland.
Yeah, and there's like Antifa no-go zones down in that town, right?
Some whack ass shit, dude.
So how far are you from Portland?
3 hours. We're southern.
Okay.
Yeah,
so like
I live like I live about half an hour, 40 minutes from the Jedediah Smith State Park in California, where the redwoods are, the ones that they filmed the Return of the Jedi in on Endor.
Okay.
Cool, dude. Yeah, you can drive through there. There's a grove that all the cool redwoods, and then on the coast is all like the rocky coastline, like you see in all the pirate movies, like in the Goonies and stuff.
Are you kidding me? Oh, and in the Shivering Vampire movie.
Yeah, one of
Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my God,
the cool thing is all the beaches are public up here, so you can camp on any of the beaches. You can bring your dogs out there.
Well, aren't what is this? Aren't all of the beaches technically public in California?
Maybe, but I mean, I don't know. I think there's certain areas that are just, I don't know. I don't think truly.
Not truly.
I mean, you can't camp on any of the beaches. You have to only camp on certain ones, you know.
Yeah, why is that?
But that's what I'm saying. Up here, you can pretty much go, and you know, you can be driving along the side of the road and be like, "Hey, let's get off here," and you know, tent, you know.
Pitch a tent, right?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Driving down the coast with the lovely lady. Hey,
bro, you wouldn't know what to do if you got there.
No, I would not.
Hey, I really need a drink because my throat's all scratchy. I'll be right back. Talk about something interesting. Talk about, let's see, what can you talk about while I'm gone?
Do you want me to talk about abortion?
Not really. Okay. I mean, yeah, if you want to. What are you going to say about it?
Well, no, there was another tweet when I was chasing down this one from the Cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
That quote. There was one that I came up with, or that I came across, where you go ahead and get your drink. And
all right. Yeah,
I'll share the screen.
I can't hear you.
So let's go. Sorry, I know this is pro. Okay, so this is, I have no idea if this is Photoshopped. It's kind of weird, but so the original tweet was, look at this little baby, just 9 weeks old, those tiny little hands, tiny little fingers, tiny smile, that precious life. So I'm not sure if that's the stage where people still have a tail. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a thing, but I mean, when it comes to abortion, even if it's necessary, it shouldn't be celebrated how some people celebrate it. I mean, that's how I look at it. And a lot of people cheer and they're like, "Yay!" But I mean, really, if it comes down to it, if someone has to have an abortion, it's like something didn't go right. It's the worst of many situations. But anyways, so a response to this tweet was, I'd stomp on that until it was unrecognizable. And so with a smile on my face. I mean, that's fucking disturbing, you know? Where
I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I thought I saw the guy's face and I thought they were talking about him. Then I thought
no. Yeah, so no, they're talking about the little and like I have no idea what the situation was here, but it's one of those things, like, you're fucking mean, you know? Like, she's a cold-hearted bitch.
Yeah, so we move on, dude.
Yeah. So check this out. Will this come up? No. No. Oh, I remember. Anyways, I went to the person that replied. I went to her Twitter. Oh, I didn't mean that to get bigger. That's
Thanks, man.
yeah.
Killing it, Smalls.
So I went to that chick's Twitter, and her. Come on, fucking turn off.
Did you dox her?
No, no, no. But like, it shows.
Did you find out that she was in fact an aborted fetus?
No, but her Twitter account was private. Like you had to be an accepted person to be part of to like see her tweets or whatever.
Oh,
So it seems like it was probably a negative backlash to that nonsense there.
or she's just one of the many people that like to spread their opinion but want to be immune to everybody else's.
Maybe.
I fall in that category.
It should
I
be one of
reject
those
the
things.
reality.
It should be one of those things where if you block someone, that you should not be able to see their tweets either. And I know you could just have a second account and whatnot, but it's one of those things like if you block me, then you should go fuck yourself, and you shouldn't be able to easily see any of my tweets. You know?
You spend a lot of time on Twitter.
No, I don't.
It's probably not healthy, you know.
I do spend some time on Gab. Like I'll scroll through it to see like a lot of shit about Brexit. A lot of shit.
What was it I heard today? Something about they were going to recall the PM or something?
So Theresa May resigned.
Resigned, okay.
Yeah, and it's effective. Like,
and isn't the favorite guy like a hardline Brexit guy?
So I have no idea who's going to be PM,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of those things where this is like the European Parliament elections.
Mm-hmm.
But what I understand, it's being swept by the Brexit Party. I don't know where UKIP is standing, but they're like pro UK. UKIP is the United Kingdom Independence Party. It was the party that Nigel Farage originally led to bring about Brexit in the first place. And I guess he wrongly assumed or had faith that the politicians would actually carry it out, right. Where in the end they did fuck all about actually leaving.
Sounds about right.
I don't understand why they need a deal, because can't it be one of those things where?
But that's when I was asking you, I said it just really seems to me like when you framed it in perspective of of the EU being kind of like the new Soviet Union, or at least, you know, new socialist republic. But that's the thing, is like the only reason it makes sense is if they're trying to penalize Great Britain in some way.
Oh yeah, like
it's pressure, big time pressure.
If the UK leaves, that I've been seeing, excuse me, I've been seeing things about Swexit, the Swedish exit, you know, where
that'd be cool.
Yeah, so the UK is a net is a positive contributor to the budget of the European Union. If someone like Greece left, it would probably be like, they're like we just pay their bills anyways.
Okay, so the European Union, what does that actually consist of? What do they supply?
What do you mean, what do they supply?
Well, like, you know, the federal government here basically, I guess what I'm asking is, they're obviously trying to make money, right?
Who, the politicians?
Well,
because yes,
I guess what I'm saying is they're taxing and they're getting tariff money, right? The European Union.
Yeah, they're getting.
Right? Okay, so under what guise? What is their? I guess what are they doing that their individual nation members are not? What
They
service they
want
provide?
they want a global one world government.
Right.
They are authoritarians that want to control people's lives.
Mm.
I mean, I mean,
No, I guess what I'm
it
asking
kind
is,
of really is that simple. I think.
what would they sell you on, or at least on paper, what does it look like? I guess what I'm asking is, what is the EU? Like, is it actually a governing body? Is it just
So the EU excuse me, sorry about that. The EU actually started in like 19, it was either 19 like late 40s or early 50s, and I think they called it the Club of Rome, or like that's where a meeting was or something like that. But basically it was like a lot of, I think, just big, powerful people in Europe got together and they hedged out a plan. This is what we want Europe to look like in the future, and they slowly introduced it as uh, a common market where goods can be traded, and then slowly they just started increasing their power and what they regulated, and it's like a full-on governing body where a few years ago it was talked about where there was going to be an EU army, and there were people that said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen." But in the last couple of years, they talk about an EU army.
well, isn't that what, other than us, what NATO is now, basically?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we should have NATO.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of NATO. I mean, I guess it served a purpose at one point, but here's what I was going to ask you. Okay, so the way you just said it about this group of people got together and basically decided this is what we're going to do. Nothing nefarious or whatever, but like when you talk about anarchy and things like that, that's where my mind always goes is there are always going to be people like that that will exploit any sort of power, leverage, money, resources. So I guess my point is like sometimes I guess that's why I get frustrated sometimes when I get kind of dismissive is because like you never take into account any of that when you throw your scenarios out there. And that's immediately where my mind goes. It's like this is the shit that will happen. Any sort of vacuum that's not
But that
like
shit's happening now, right?
I know, but wouldn't it be much worse? And that's the thing. Wouldn't it just evolve into basically like warlordism or tribalism or you know what I mean?
So I think if I'm trying to find a way to put this where I think it'll sound as politically correct as possible, but
Are you gonna tell me to go fuck myself?
no. So let's say if you and I got together and we
Like
went out,
sexually or
whatever, you know,
okay?
hey, dude, we're building a utopia. It can
Like
be.
it just is. It is what it is, and we're not gonna judge. And
So you and I, let's say we put together. Sorry, I think I just thought of a good example. So
take your time.
you know how there's no go zones in Europe.
Okay, wait. In what regard?
So in
Like
sorry,
places that.
sorry, I think I might have a little kid coming in a minute. So yeah, places in countries like Sweden. I think Malmo has one, but like Sweden, I don't know about Norway, but like France, Germany, the UK, they have areas that it's such a large, like ethnic Muslim enclave
Okay.
that they basically say this is Islamistan,
Right.
and you can take all of your white Western ways and get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's been instances of people like Lauren Southern, who I mentioned earlier, like they want to go and record there, and they have cops with them, and the cops might say, yeah, like we're not going any further down that street because
Right.
it's going to be a whole mess, a problem for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be the case where that cop radios back and he says, "Hey, we got a woman that wants to exercise her freedoms in this free country, and I need 20 other cops down here because we're going to show some people like what should happen." You know, like
Right.
that's what should happen. But I understand it's a single cop, and he's like, "I'm not like look."
Isn't that where I always go when we have that argument about, you know, like, because I distinctly remember talking about, in regards to like law enforcement, me asking you how would laws be enforced and stuff.
Okay, so check this out. Picture one of those no-go zones,
Mm-hmm.
because like there's proof there that if you get enough like-minded people together, concentrated in one place,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a society that's completely separate from the surrounding society, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's say you and I, we find a nice place, let's say in San Francisco, you
Okay.
know, and we start talking to people, and they say, "You know what? Like you're for gay rights because you're for individual rights. You're for women's rights because you're for individual rights, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
And we spread the good word to so many people that they say, "This is our no-go zone, and it's freedom stand," you know?
Yeah.
So the people within
that's
that
the problem.
area,
People are
like there's examples of what I'm talking about, and that's what I mentioned, the no-go zones. But this is a no-go zone for anyone that wants to initiate force.
right. But this has to do with what you're talking about, but I'm going to sidetrack for just a second. I had a really good
That's
discussion.
fine, please.
I had a really good discussion with my mom, and like,
Mama's boy.
no, it was just we don't really like, things were
Tell me
said.
like he used to.
No, things were said, just in passing about political things, but we actually like kind of laid it out there. Anyway, it was a really good conversation, and like my perception of what her thoughts and beliefs were different, and likewise for her. But
Well, I'm curious about this conversation in and of itself. So if you want to go that road
no,
with
it was
it, like,
just
I'm stoked to hear about it.
no. We just my mom. Okay, just for some background, my grandmother is my mom's mother from Boston originally, and then her family came out here when she was a child.
Does she know
So
Pocahontas?
no, not that long ago.
Okay.
But she's always been a
No, I'm
very
just talking about Elizabeth Warren.
yeah. She right. She's always been like I guess what you would call like a traditional Democrat socialist, and just always opinionated about it, not in a bad way, just in kind of like, well, they basically just assuming that like they're pretty much right every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No real argument otherwise. So anyway, and then my mom would just say things once in a while, and I thought maybe she was more along the lines, and I think she thought I was a lot more conservative than I am. I think she thought I was more, not that I supported Trump, but that I was or not that I was a Trump fan, but maybe I more or less backed Trump, just in opposition to the rest. And I told her, I said, fuck no, and I mean, I told her, I said, other than, there's very few things that I consider myself conservative on, besides the obvious ones. But everything else, I'm very liberal minded, but I'm within the context of order and like not just people making up sexualities and living in fairy tale land. You know what I mean? I mean, that's cool if you want to do it, but it shouldn't dictate government policy or biological truths or things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Which.
So anyway, we got to the end of the conversation, and I remember saying something about kind of feeling frustrated because it's almost like feeling guilty for, I guess, almost feeling guilty for, white males constantly being singled out, but also almost feeling self-censored to the point where I can't even really say anything that would be perceived as conservative or right-wing because number one, I'm not what they would perceive to be that, and number two, just the backlash that comes with that, and the automatic dismissal of your views or whatever. And
well, it's ridiculous to think that a guy cannot have an opinion about insert topic here because the guy doesn't have ovaries or doesn't like you
right.
Can still have basic principles and apply those principles to different situations.
Right.
But
I mean, don't you agree though that right now in this society there are a lot of people just kind of looking for someone like me or you to say something to get upset about or to go off on?
Dude, that's why I was so nervous about my sticker on my laptop when I went on my trip a few weeks ago. Because part of me just wanted to see if I'd get any reactions.
Mm-hmm.
But part of me was concerned if I got any reactions, Mm-hmm. But overall, it just produced like one pretty decent conversation with a couple of coworkers where they had the mindset of like what are you doing with that sticker, And like I've learned, not necessarily that I support Alex Jones, but that sticker tells me a lot about who you are based on your reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you freak out and you're like, you gotta be kidding me,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things like, whoa, calm down. Like I don't need this. It's just a sticker,
Yeah.
But also, if someone just calmly says, I don't agree with the guy, but I don't think he should be shut up, then I know that person's open-minded, and like that person I can have a conversation with. But I'm curious, like, what's your mom's current like view of how you feel and the current climate? Like is she aware of it, or is she like, oh, I didn't realize it was that bad?
Well, no, that was kind of her point. Like at first, she kind of.
Would you describe her as an ally for you?
Oh yeah, no, but it was like the way when I said it, she was like not dismissive and more of like, oh no, I think you have it wrong kind of way. Like not in a condescending way, like kind of like, no, you're getting it wrong in a bad way. Look at it this way. And I kind of stopped her and I said, but no, Mom. I said, I'm being serious. I said, I mean, granted, in my younger days, I was a lot more loose in what I said and, in my opinions. And, we're younger and we all thought we knew everything. And that was part of it. But also, you just felt like there were certain things you could say and not feel like we were talking tonight actually at dinner about like comedians back in the 60s like Don Rickles and that, and like you could talk about a black guy and you could talk about a Jewish guy and not feel so conscious about it because we were just talking about each other and that's how we did it, and it wasn't a big deal, and I don't think she understands how. I just don't think she had any idea of how that makes us feel. I mean, I don't really think we're in the minority either, I mean, I know a lot. There, some people like you are maybe more likely. I didn't mean to say that. Like some people like you, but I just meant like perhaps in your case, you would be more likely to, in a good natured way, try and start a dialogue or challenge someone on their idea, and kind of take up that thing. And it's like I don't want to do that, and I don't want to have to defend myself, and I don't want to explain the intricacies of my beliefs. Basically, just feeling like I just refuse to fall into your trap.
So there's certain times where I'll like proactively try and talk about this type of thing. But if I know I'm with diehard lefties, like I'm just the quiet guy sitting down over there by himself.
Yeah.
And like there's certain people that know certain things about me, and they might think like, oh, the guy's nuts or whatever it may be. But it's one of those things where I will tailor my behavior to the environment that I'm in. And if I think that I start talking to someone and the person seems open-minded, then yeah, like I'll jump down the road and say like, freedom, anarchy, it's not chaos, it's good, and I'll feed the people ideas, and I'll talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
But if I know the person is on the other side, then it's one of those things where I'll find something else to talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, how's that weather? It's mighty cold this time of year, don't you think? I mean, it's crazy how much it's rained in Southern California. Can you believe it?
Right. Yeah, I had a good point, and then I forgot it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, my bad. I was rambling on.
No, you weren't. I blew it. I was trying to formulate a...
So, if you don't mind me asking, and this kind of goes back to previous conversations, did your mom talk about where she is on the political spectrum now? And
Yeah, I mean...
Does she agree with the women of the view that we have excesses in the First and Second Amendments, or is she like...
No, I think okay, so to explain this in a way that makes sense, I would have perceived her as being, or I did perceive her as being much more current day stereotypical liberal, maybe not to the rabid degree, but pretty much towing the line, just buying into everybody can be great, everything can be wonderful and nobody ever has to pay for anything, and which is not true. I think...
sorry to interrupt, but would you think that your mom feels this way because well, I'm a person and they're people and I'm a good person, so she's kind of project her own...
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
People, and she's like, well, yeah, people are naturally good, look at me.
And I think that's it, and that's what I was going to say, is that it's in a naive, in a good-natured, naive way. And that's... See, I used to perceive it as us clashing over kind of political differences, but it was in our perception of the world, because she was coming at it solely from and I mean, it's not in like a head of her butt, we can feed and clothe everybody kind of way, but just very, not that this is her opinion, because we haven't really talked about it in this nature, but I would imagine that she'd say, yeah, we can't have unregulated immigration, but she would also admit or feel that there are situations, people in need that truly do need to come to this country, things like that. She also has that very heartfelt side and wants to take care of people and look out for the person that needs that little extra bit of help. And I totally admire that. It's just that I think, again, and I think this is part of how the left or the liberal side does it, is they sweep you up in if it's not for the good of everybody, it's bad. If you stop and say, wait a minute, let's think about this and be responsible about it. No, you're just not on board, man. You're not hip to what's going down,
Yeah.
So,
because if it's good for everybody, I don't think that's possible, except oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
water,
Mm-hmm.
and like basic food. And beyond that, like
Yeah.
it's so subjective, you know?
But I think the only place we really had any difference, but I think I kind of explained it because I think it was kind of funny. Not that she, like I said, she thought I was for Trump or anything, but, I told her that other than, I think the only thing I said I admire about him is that it kept Hillary out of the White House. And then I think she kind of started to, well, I knew she was going to go into it, but again, my mom is not the kind of person that reads between the lines, that sees the bigger picture and the bigger power plays going on, and kind of the perceived intent of her.
So would you say that she takes politicians at their word?
Maybe not at their word, but I think her and a lot of other people saw a woman running for president. This is a great thing, and this is what we need. And they were on board with that. And we were like, the rest of us were like, hey, we're cool with that too, but not her. And
Yeah, like
in saying that, we were the bad guys, because all of a sudden we were saying no, and
yeah,
it
like
became about being a woman. Just like when they remake a movie with a female cast and it sucks, and then everybody says, oh, it sucks, and they say, no, you're just being sexist because it's not a guy movie.
yeah,
The
maybe it
movie
actually
sucked.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like that's one of those things where I I have no problem if some woman becomes president. I just didn't want her.
There's a lot of women I wouldn't mind seeing president. Just, yeah, I don't. My main thing with her, I mean, a lot of it is unprovable and it's just kind of accusational, but I've just always perceived her to be someone that's kind of power hungry. You know what I mean? And like,
Wait, your mom?
no, no, definitely not my mom. My mom is not.
No, yeah, yeah. She like just out for power.
Yeah, and I don't know. To me, that's kind of obvious, but I guess a lot of people don't pick up on that vibe.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And like it seems kind of worrisome.
I mean, just like I get the same vibe about Trump in a kind of way. Not as devious and underhanded. His is more of in a schleppy kind of under the table dealing kind of way. Hers is more like, murdering lawyers and.
So I think Hillary is like I said earlier, there's a Clinton body count now. Like there's
I will neither confirm nor deny my agreement.
But there's no Trump body count. And I think Hillary is like, I will claw to get power any which way I can. Right. And I think Trump is more along the lines of, hey, like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Yeah. And while both of them might end up with not the purest of intent, one is much more acceptable than the other. Where one is like, hey, yeah, like I can see one guy doing a favor for another guy and nobody gets hurt. But again, like I would like the initiation of force or like that evil layer to be removed so I'm not paying for it. But that I can understand. Yeah. But the clawing for power, like, no, thank you.
I've got a question. Why is it that, and you think this would be like a no-brainer, but why does not either party like just break the mold and be like, you know what? Instead of going for whoever we owe a favor to or whoever we think will give us an edge, what if we truly just picked like the most sensible, normal person that nobody could find any fault with and run them as a candidate? You know what I mean? Or is it just that the other side would eat them up because they're either not experienced enough or not overt enough, or not overt, but what's boisterous, or
So it's been 2 years plus where they've been trying to get dirt on Trump. You know, like that's what the whole Mueller investigation was.
Right.
And the best they got is like Manafort's like business dealings with John Podesta from like 5 or 10 years ago, where he didn't file the right paperwork.
Right. Right.
Ooh, he's an evil criminal, and which kind of goes to like, why isn't John Podesta in jail too?
Right. Well, but I guess, but in this regard, I meant like, okay, so maybe specifically the Republican Party. Like, don't you think that with the position they're in, they would be like, look, we need the baddest motherfucker in the Republican Party that can pull more votes than anybody, because people will say, this guy's a straight shooter. This is a known variable,
So
because other than that, it's just going to be, and that's the problem, is it always comes up a complete crapshoot, because there's no way to say, this guy's got a solid rep, this guy's a douchebag. It's like they're all slimy in some way, and they're all, power hungry in some way.
So then this isn't hard evidence to like support or deny what you're saying, but I think that it's telling of a system in general. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you can find this, but when Jesse the Mind Ventura won office for the governor of
Minnesota.
Yeah, so he's got a story where he says that when he won, he was like escorted to the basement of the building he was in or something like that. And he was taken into a room and he was basically asked, how did you win? And I like it's been a while since I've heard this, but I'm pretty sure that you can find it somewhere. But if that's true, that's one of those things where like that's one hell of a story. Was he truly not supposed to win? Did the powers that be, that like the mystical hands that control the world?
Yeah, okay, but again, I think the real story,
he had a chance and he wasn't even gonna have a chance in hell to win, so they never even thought, let's rig the election.
Yeah, but again, I think the bigger question is, why, if you're all about trying to get the public or the voting population to perceive you in a certain way, why would you keep running people that are completely out of TV political dramas because they're so transparent? You know what I mean? I guess that's my point. It's like, why would you run a stereotypical politician when, I don't know, frustrating.
So here's the second anecdotal story. Okay. So my first was about Jesse the Mind. My other one was about a guy that I worked with a number of years ago. Maybe like,
was his name Aaron?
No. But he did have a very thin pencil mustache when I was clean shaven, and he had it into a goatee, and he always spoke like this.
And you just wanted to kiss him?
No, but so I worked with this guy, and he was close to retirement age, and at some point he said that he had run, and I think was on his like local city board or city whatever it is, like the where every
council, city council.
Yeah, there we go, city council. So he said that he was on there, and that he did a good enough job where someone else said, hey, we like the work that you've done. We'd like to know if you're interested in running for like county supervisor. And apparently he went and he did some research, and like the only thing he would say about it is, if I would have gone that next step, I would have had to sell my soul, or like, granted, that's being paraphrased, but that's one of those things, like, he had to either compromise his positions or do whatever to get that next step. So if you're going into even higher rungs on the ladder, like state assembly, state senator, or like House of Rep or Senate, imagine all of the shit that you'd have to do to get through that if like selling your soul was on a county level. you know? So it's one of those things, maybe they're so, like, ingrained with filth and questionable people that there's no chance in hell of, like, a legitimate good person getting in.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, because really it's become a caricature of itself, you know?
Yeah.
Reality reflects entertainment, and entertainment reflects reality, so it's like, I mean, I guess it's always done that to a certain extent, but again, it's come to caricature magnitude, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like, since we're talking about this a little bit, like the running for office, I'm still curious if that's something that I should do. And
I think if you do it, you need to, like, work at it first. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, like,
well, no, I was thinking about,
basically, I'm saying don't get into the ring without at least training for 6 months. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, and like I haven't put pen to paper, but a couple weeks ago you asked me, where initially I said, I would make a campaign pledge and I would say I won't vote for any new laws. You know, like we have enough where we can govern ourselves, and at this point we need to be getting rid of laws.
Okay, so let me ask you this. In this scenario, say you were on the city council and the council had to vote to pass an initiative to raise money to whatever, upgrade some schools that needed to be upgraded in some way. It was needed, okay? So then what would you do? Because if you don't vote for it, I know you don't like public schools and you're going to get into that whole thing. Okay, how about they need to pass a resolution to fund upgrading the city sewage system, or shit's going to start backing up. How do you vote on that?
Well, that could be done on a strictly business term, where there's people that are paying for this service. So you can go to a bank and you would say, hey, look, this is the loan we need for the project that we're going to undertake. This is why we need to do it. This is our customer base. Like, we've done research. We have captive customers. It's not like they can get sewer service for someone else. So we need a loan, and we're going to recoup the costs by raising rates. And we've told our customers that this is why we're raising rates. And it's not like some frivolous whatever, you know? So something like that is more feasible. And I think that your example of, like, oh, the local school like had some tiles come up and it turns out there's asbestos in those tiles, right? So if there's asbestos in the tiles, then it's like a health issue. We don't want kids getting mesothelioma, right?
Okay, so if you say you wouldn't vote for any law, what if there was a law to ban asbestos in construction?
So that's
Dude, you cannot fake a pulmonary embolism to get out of answering this question.
So that's one of those things where, like, yeah, I guess you could reason that, but
that was my point when I was asking you that. Though, it's like, just that there's things that need to be voted on that you just can't always vote no on, because there's shit that needs to be done, and that was my point.
So look, I would vote on something that says that,
like, what if you had to vote on a law to, what if it came down to, no, that's a bad one.
well, that's why last week and I think at the end of the previous week I mentioned outsourcing the police, because I would vote for laws that basically gave individual people more rights to police their own community, and that would be additional laws. You know,
so here's kind of my point.
I was trying to think of a way to handle the school asbestos issue without basically taking guns to people and saying, give us more money.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do, because I think we were talking about doing this before, is like, we need to start, because I think I know where you're coming from, and I know you kind of paint in broad terms when you talk about it, but like I said, people are going to want to know more specific things. So I think we need to talk about like each week. Let's work on a local level, okay? Let's not even, because I think kind of again what we talked about was that people are more going to be more interested, well, hopefully more interested, or could be more interested in things that actually affect them, right? Um, at least on the local level. So anyway, right. So that's what they're going to want to know, because what are they going to want to know about? You know, things like schools and hospitals and city utility, you know, things like that. Things that are just that you know. I know you'd like to snap your fingers and have it all be privatized and free market.
Well, I would vote for like a school voucher system.
Right. But that's what I mean. We need to start, like, you know, take one topic a week and just kind of riff on whatever. Like, you know, maybe start at the top and say, like, okay, and I don't want to do it because honestly, dude, I'm starting to get a little tired. So maybe we should.
Yeah, same here.
But anyway, like, just as an example, like, you know, let's say I brought up, like, the school system. And, you know, I'm sure you would say something to the effect of, that you don't agree with, or you're not a fan of public schools. And then I'd say, okay, I understand that, but let's bring it down to the local level, and you're in local government, and there's issues that come up regarding public schools. You know, you can't just cut off the public schools and be like, ah, fuck them, you know, and I mean, I know you'd want to, but
dude, there have been governments across the world that have done far worse to their citizenry. You know,
dude, we want to get you elected, not like voted off the island.
No, I think that
dude, are those
a good place to
black
stop.
talon bullets, dude?
Are the what?
Are those black talons? Are
Oh,
those cop
no,
killers?
no, I don't have anything crazy
Yeah,
like
those
that.
are the ones that shoot through schools.
They had solid like 2-foot steel walls, but it still got through.
I know, right? Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it for tonight. I hope.
But let's do that, dude, because I think it'd be good for you too. Because I think it would be
good
exercise for you to define. I don't care as much about like how I define myself politically, but I think it'd be a good exercise for you to like hone like what your beliefs are, so that you can articulate. Like, you know, you could go into a situation with some asshole like me that's going to ask the smart ass questions, and be like, "Hey, dude, this is the way it is, and this is why I feel that way." And like, number one,
arguing for a realistic current world versus like, this is the goal and this is what we have to deal with now.
Right. In that sense, yeah. Because that's what my point is, that it's really hard to sell someone on an unobtainable, at least at that point, ideal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I know that's what always happens, because people are, you know, stereotyped as whatever.
Dude, like people talk crazy about socialism and like communism and the dream that will bring. Mm-hmm. So like there are people with lofty goals that say like, oh, if we have systems that where the workers can own like the means of production, yeah, it's fucking co-op, you retards. Like, go get to work, you know?
So then what, just, and I hate to ask this, because I know we're going to go down the rabbit hole, but, like, do you think there can be a form of, and I don't want to say social health care, but a form of public health care, to where basically, if you're a citizen, we'll put that caveat on there too. If you're a citizen, basically you would be guaranteed basic health care.
So historically, I will answer that with yes, and I think the free market can take care of it.
kind of the way it is now with the freeloaders and the ERs and the high
Oh,
insurance premiums?
we don't have anywhere close to a free market in healthcare.
I guess that's my point. Is like, okay, you could say free market, but then you'd have people dying in the streets, right?
No,
But
no.
well, no, I'm talking about like just overnight. Okay, but because like we said, there's the ideal and then there's the realistic. So
Yeah.
isn't it? When I guess what I was trying to say is, wouldn't it be better instead of like the mess we're in now, if you figured out a way to get it to as many people as economically and logistically. Basically, could you engineer a system that was like the ideal of what people think the Canadian system is?
A magic genie coming out of a lamp.
I don't know.
So yeah. I think saying that one person or even a team of people can engineer something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's unreasonable and unrealistic. That to assume that a small group of people can set up a system that can foresee the people's needs. Now, they might set up something where they say, these are the principles in which I think society should go about providing healthcare to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like we will provide healthcare to people if you meet this criteria, and if you like are a freeloader from someone and all you do is sit on a couch and eat food all day and watch TV, and you're coming in at 39 with a heart attack, like, yeah, we're going to make you better, but then we're going to put your ass to work if you want to stay alive, because just because you exist doesn't mean anyone owes you a goddamn thing.
Right.
And
But don't you agree that, like, I guess
people realize that, then I think we can be talking about more realistic solutions.
right. I don't know. I just feel like, and I hate to say this because then I sound like a socialist or communist, but like, you think that at least like you can take care of people on a basic level, you know? And I'm not talking about like getting people facelifts and breast implants and sex changes and, you know, things like that. I'm talking about like, you know, making sure people that have, you know, chronic illnesses and nobody care for them at least have a place to sleep and, you know, things like that. And, you know, just basic stuff like that. And making sure that the kid that doesn't have any shoes, you know, at least has a basic level of health care provided, you know?
There's a lot of people that care deeply about the well-being of other people throughout society, and I think people forget that. And that's like that. That's one reason why I'm okay with going to church. You know, I'm definitely not a religious person, but when I go and I hear about the fact that this building that I'm in was paid for by the goodwill of other people, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It gives me hope for the future. And then when I hear that there's people throughout the year that are helping homeless people eat good meals and helping people that are invalids or can't get around, you know, like hearing all of these gives me hope. And when so many people just think, oh, the government's here to do that stuff, and if the government leaves, then there's no one to do it, that's simply not true, because I see these things happening.
Right.
You know, and when you take, if somehow we can remove the government, and I know this is getting back into like Magic Land, but the overhead that the government produces for everyone, how much more money everyone has to earn because of government is astounding. And if you remove that and you free up people's wages and they can donate, people like me would be able to donate. Where now it's like, hey, I'm getting by.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't really donate. Like, yeah, I'll help out. I'll sweep the floors. I'll move chairs and I'll do stuff like that. But like, we're not adding on to this building because of me. You know, don't get your hopes up. And I think the current trajectory of people my age is more along those lines than along the lines of people in like the baby boom generation, when they've been able to amass a lot more wealth. You know, if they would have had a little more self-control and said, I don't need to amass all this wealth, and I'll save some for the future generations, and I think we'd be in a lot better position today.
I concur. I'm going south though, dude, so I should probably call it quits.
No, that's fine.
That way you don't get mad at me. I mean, I heard everything you said. I'm just really fighting. So.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy with this episode. It's gone way better than I was thinking going into it. So I'm super happy. I know it would, dude. Excuse me. In the next couple weeks, I hope to be running Ethernet, so maybe I'll have a better connection.
Yeah. You know what, dude? I ran mine without it tonight, and there was only one point that it told me I lost connection, but when I came back, you were talking like nothing happened. So. Yeah,
that's what I do. I yammer away. So I'm going to stop recording here.
All right.
And then let's see if we can get some after show in. Peace out and word to everyone's mothers.
Word to your mom.